Hey guys, what's up? In this video, we're talking about upgrades and I wanted to share with you my 10 reasons for upgrading to the EOS R5. Now, before getting into my list, I want to talk a little bit about upgrades. Upgrading is exciting, it's fun, it's acquiring new gear, but there also can be downsides to upgrading. Say, for example, that the camera that you're getting is a much higher megapixel count or has larger files than what you're used to working with or what your computer system can handle. You're gonna have to upgrade an entire computer system plus your camera system. So it could get expensive, something to keep in mind. The other thing that just kind of drives me crazy is every camera manufacturer, including Apple for iPhones, comes up with new products and they want to sell their products, and their marketing is so good that it makes you want to buy it. It feels like your life is going to improve. You're going to, I don't know, make this great improvement in your work. And sometimes that's true, but I think making a list and making sure that the upgrades or the features are good for you and your workflow, and just kind of going through it thoroughly and not letting your emotions take over. Be more pragmatic in your upgrading. If you're watching this video and you don't have a camera and you just want to see what reasons that I picked to get the R5, and that might help you make your decision, keep watching to the end, because there are a lot of good reasons why I picked up my R5. And in case you're wondering what I was upgrading from, I was working with the 5DSR, the 50 megapixel DSLR from Canon. So let's jump into this list with reason number one, and that is the autofocus. So coming from a DSLR, the autofocus points are kind of in the center. I would have to focus and then recompose. Not a big deal, I've been doing it for years. But now with the mirrorless system, the entire sensor is or can be a focus point. And on top of that, there is a eye autofocus, which works really well. I mainly work with people shooting portraits, so having eye autofocus is kind of important to me and kind of a game changer. So now instead of focusing on the focus point and then recomposing, now the eye autofocus finds the eye. I only have to worry about my composition. So it makes my life a lot easier. Reason number two is the 45 megapixel sensor. I feel like this is a sweet spot in megapixel count. I was worried that the R5 was gonna have something like 75 or something huge. And like I said at the beginning of the video, that would mean I would have to upgrade my entire computer system just to manage the file size. But since I had the 5DSR and it has 50 megapixels, my workflow is used to handling that size. 45 megapixels is great because if I want to crop in, there's plenty of room. The files are incredible. The dynamic range is great. I found that I can push the colors really far, and with a mirrorless system, I tend to not over or underexpose files just because of the EBF. You see what you see is what you get. But if I have overexposed, I could save the highlights, and same with the shadows. I can bring up the shadows, and there's lots of room to work with on both ends. Reason number three is the in-body image stabilization. Now, this is kind of a huge deal for Canon. This is the first pro-level body that has image stabilization in it. In the past, with my DSLR, if I was going to shoot video and wanted to have a stable image, I would have to get slower f4 lenses that have image stabilization built into the lens. Now I'm able to use my old prime lenses and make them stabilized with the in-body image stabilization. So for me, this was a kind of a big deal because now I can shoot video with prime lenses and get a really shallow depth of field, and it's really nice. Reason number 4, the high-speed shutter. With the mechanical shutter, it shoots 12 frames a second, which is super fast. I shoot mainly action and fitness, so having this high-speed shutter count was a big deal. The 5DSR only shoots 5 frames a second, so sometimes I would miss, or sometimes I would not even use the high-speed shutter at all and just kind of time it. Now I'm able to shoot in high-speed shutter and never miss a shot, and this is good for my talent because say that I'm shooting action shots all day long, and if I have to have them do take after take of an action, then they get worn out, and by the end of the shoot, they're gonna be really tired and not give me their best work. So now I'm able to get the shot in 1 or 2 attempts, and then my talent is able to kind of be fresh all day. For me, this is a big deal. On silent shutter, it goes to 20 frames a second. I actually have never put it into silent shutter. 12 is plenty fast for me, and I find that I have to turn the high-speed shutter off when I'm not shooting something in action because I end up with way more files than I need. I could only imagine getting 20 frames a second and having to go through all the access files. Number 5 is the quiet shutter. So another part of my job in photography is shooting on-set stills for video production. So with a quiet shutter, I'm able to shoot during the takes and not interfere with the sound recording. It does have the silent shutter, but even the mechanical shutter is super quiet. So I could see the silent shutter being important for someone, say, shooting weddings or someplace that you want to be discreet and not have your camera be heard or have you be undetected taking photos. Number 6 is the CF Express cards. With 45 megapixels and 12 frames a second, you need a card that's going to support writing all those files. At the beginning of using this camera, I had just SD cards, and with an SD card and the speed of the card that I had, there was a 50 photo buffer. So when I'm shooting at 12 frames a second, the buffer would fill up after 50 frames, and then it would take a little bit of time for it to clear. With the CF Express card, it has a 275 frame buffer, and I don't think I've ever hit it. I've never had to wait for that card to write. The other thing that the CF Express card does is gives you access to the 120 frames per second in video and 4K. So I highly recommend spending the extra money getting the CF Express card, because then you'll unlock all the features of the R5. Number 7, the flip out screen. This has changed my access to different angles. So in the past, if I wanted to get a really low angle, I'd have to lay on the ground, get my clothes dirty to look through the viewfinder. Now I can angle the screen down and then just put the camera kind of really low to the ground, and I'll still be able to use my focus system, and I can just crouch down, not have to get dirty, not have to lay on the ground. And then on the opposite end, I can get a really high perspective by tilting the screen down and then putting the camera above my head. So instead of shooting blindly, which I've tried in the past and usually don't have a high success rate, now I can get the shot and be confident about the angles that I'm getting. So it gives me new access to new angles. And then a secondary thing is it gives your screen protection, so you can fold it in and you can have the LCD screen facing in. When I first got my 5DSR, I would use the neck strap and I had a zipper on. I scratched the screen within the first week of owning it, and I was super bummed, but it happens, and now it just won't happen with the R5 if I flip the screen in. Reason number 9 is the RF to EF lens adapter. Is that right? RF to EF, EF to RF. What? Anyway, I can adapt my old EF lenses to the new mount. So this saved me time and money. I didn't have to buy the RF lenses right away. I was able to use all my old glass and everything worked perfect. I did have one problem with the oldest lens that I own, the 135 f2 L lens. It disabled the high-speed shutter, so I wasn't able to use high-speed shutter with that lens, but every other lens worked perfectly. The autofocus worked perfectly, and then, like I said, now I have image stabilization on my prime lenses. This is kind of a big deal, and I love that it works perfectly. I've tried Sony cameras and trying to adapt Canon lenses, and it didn't really work out so well. So I was a little bit skeptical when I got it, but it's been working great for me, and it's definitely nice to put off spending extra money on RF lenses. Reason number 9, the access to the RF glass. The new RF glass lineup is incredible. I picked up 2 zoom lenses. I have the 24-70. I made a video on how I came to the decision to get that over some of the other options, and then I got the 70-200. And then I got the 70-200 2.8. Both lenses are super sharp. I am really happy with them. I'm looking forward to building out my new lens kit. The new lenses that Canon is coming out with are incredible. I love that there's a control ring just to give another option for part of my exposure triangle or white balance, whatever you want to set it to. I think that that's really a nice feature that they added. And I love that all the 2.8 lenses have image stabilization. So you get 5 stops of image stabilization with the body and the lens. So I think that that's a nice touch, and I love shooting handheld video. So it's great for my workflow. And finally, reason number 10, and this one isn't a reason that I upgraded because it didn't exist when I got it, but this is for you. So now Canon on their website has refurbished R5s available. So you could save 300 or 400 bucks off the price of the R5. And I have a feeling that the price drops are gonna start to come, making this video in 2022, and the R5 has been out for a little over a year now, or probably more than a year. So if you're looking to upgrade or just buy an R5, I think now is the time. So that's my list for upgrading. I hope this video helped you in making your decision, whether it's upgrading or just buying a new camera. I put a lot of thought into what my uses are gonna be, and I usually always make a list. I encourage you to do the same thing. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thanks for watching. And if you want to see more photography videos, press the subscribe button. If you like this video, press the like button. I'll see you in the next video.